Watch who?
Hello.
And welcome to Two Watch Who, a Doctor Who podcast. I'm Mark.
I'm Sarah.
And I'm a Doctor Who fan.
And I'm new to watching Who.
Watching for the very first time.
Very first time.
Sarah Sigma.
Sarah Sigma. Yeah.
Good. Well, I'm glad.
What?
I'm glad.
You're glad what?
Sorry, I forgot to ask if you were happy. Okay, I've totally messed that one up.
Oh my gosh. Oh, right. Well, that's the opening, everyone. So, should we just get on with it?
Okay, welcome everybody. We are doing the Happiness Patrol today. Well, we should just go straight into it. I haven't really got any extra things to say, really.
No, well, I think it's worth saying. Mark doesn't think so, but I think it's worth saying. Just at time of recording, we recently both went to the cinema separately to watch the finale.
Oh, that's what was on last night. Yeah. Suited.
And it'll already be out there in the world, but it's at the time of us doing this.
Yes, so we saw the current series finale at the big screen.
Suited.
On a big screen.
And we did a little mini episode for our coffee members just to get our reactions and everything. So, I mean, we won't talk, obviously can't talk about the story in detail. We'll do that in like 10 years.
Yeah.
But
when we get there.
But no, it was a good experience. It's always great to see Doctor Who on the big screen.
And also, like, I've watched 3 episodes before that. I watched the 2 with you. I watched the Christmas one, and then I watched Space Babies with you, didn't I, Mark? And then we watched Maestro, and then the only other one I watched was 73 Yards. So, like, I went in fairly blind, and I took a friend with me who was blinder, hasn't watched any. Like, since he was 9 in the 90s, watched an episode from the 70s, and it scared him and has never watched it since. Sarah, converting news to Who, you know?
There we are. Yeah, no, it was a great experience. Actually, I was going to ask you, did you have lots of people sort of dressed up in the cinema?
So I was in the second screening. The first one had sold out next door, but I did notice a few people in the like hall bit before we went in dressed up. Only a few, but they weren't in my screening.
Oh, because I had quite a few people dressed up. There was lots of people wearing the Seventh Doctor's question mark jumper.
Oh yeah, I noticed a few. Like, I noticed a few little things just in general Doctor Who-y thing, but nothing massive. And I mean like a handful. They might have already been in the cinema, but they weren't in my cinema with me.
I had a load of sort of kids behind me, and they all had like sonic screwdrivers, and they were all pressing the buttons. It was all like, I was thinking they better not be doing that throughout the whole screen.
But you had kids there. That's interesting.
But I mean 15, 16-year-olds.
But that's still interesting, because that means that they've come into it probably, around Peter Capaldi? Or they've come into it right now?
Oh, yeah, no, there was lots of young people. Yeah,
there were no young people in my screening.
Oh my God,
that's why it's
really?
interesting. Yeah.
I would say it was mostly young people, and not your average sort of 40 plus, which you usually get at the Doctor Who events. It was definitely
mine was
under 40.
All my age and up.
Anyway, we should talk about today's story.
Yeah, we should.
Lots of people like this one. It's got a good reputation. I have never really liked it that much. I associate it with Sunday afternoon, it's school the next day. I would have bought this on video. I used to get the videos on like a Sunday and watch it, and I think that's what's sort of stuck in my mind. I watched it through. I thought it was a bit boring. It was a bit dull. It's all set in the studio. I can never get past stories that don't look great production-wise. So going into this, I was like, I'm going to have to actually sit down and watch this one. And I've really tried this time to get past all the production stuff and just sort of try and appreciate it differently with the script. And I think I have. But it's like, some people, this is like the best story like ever. I'm sure there'll be lots of listeners that are like, this is my favourite story ever.
So I did enjoy it, actually. But I wouldn't say it's the best ever. I mean, it's no Keys of Marinus. We've not dropped that in for a while, have we? Initially, I was a bit like, actually, it's linked to something else, right? So since it all links, this is Sarah's week in Doctor Who. So Friday night, go to the cinema with my friend. I tried to he was like, what do I need to know before we go? I showed him like some of the David Tennant ones explaining like okay, well, we saw Shooty appear. So that was whatever that one was. And then I did the start of Ruby Rose because I was like, oh, here's a companion. Literally 10 minutes. It was a very brief overview of things. And then I was like, oh, and some people say Doctor Who's quite silly. And then I did Space Babies, right? So maybe this is why Space Babies is in my head, because this was like Friday before going. And he was like, what is happening? And I was like, I don't think this will be as silly. But like, you can see the colours of a show here. Right. So for me, this sort of started out as a little bit silly, which I've no problem with. We've talked about this, especially with the new stuff. Silly is great. When production is great, silly is fantastic. I'm all for it. This was silly. Everyone's in pink. It reminded me a little bit of the Kangs.
It's very much like that. I was going to say, they've gone 80s theatre arts again.
But the story-wise is quite an interesting idea of a story where I was trying to work out initially, I was like, so, because it starts off with that really weird, like, spectacle style. And I was trying to work out, do they need to be happy or sad? I'm trying to work, and then I was like, oh no, everyone needs to be happy. Really fun idea. It's just a really fun idea. There's lots of, good costume. Like, the monsters in the thing, there's lots of things, right? And I think sometimes we've had criticism where it's been, oh, there's 5 of them on the ship and that's it. It didn't feel like that at any point. It felt like there was lots of things, even things we didn't see. You felt there was a world, and that's really important. Sheila Hancock initially was a bit of a funny performance, but by the end, her and the Doctor's monologue at the end was peak. Initially, I thought she was quite camping it up, sort of playing it down a bit. And then I think she maybe got more into it.
Well, it's the style of it, isn't it? Like Paradise Towers, and it's very much Paradise Towers too.
It is very Paradise Towers, yeah.
It reminds me a bit of the
Which
Tax
I also
one.
Enjoyed.
Yeah, well, you love that one. I did. Yeah, again, I didn't as much because I think, well, production-wise, again, just going back, I think the way that it's gone, maybe last season, maybe this season, it's very much there's 2 stories that are very much on location, which we had last week with the Daleks, which was location heavy, and then the way it's budgeted, there's always going to be a total studio story, which it's really sad because it lets it down, because the Tax one was very much, it could, like this one, I feel like that opening could be on stage, it could be a theatre production. It's really difficult to get past that. And when you said it's like a whole world, I'm like, I know it's, again, a colony. We always have a colony, don't we? But we don't see anyone. It's because it's all these empty sets and they're just sort of walking around on wooden. You can hear them on the studio. I can't get that out of my head that okay, it's a colony. It's supposed to be the streets of this town or whatever. But there's no one there. You just meet the characters that talk. Where are all the extras walking through? Where's that extra bit to make it feel like it's a thriving city? Or is it because everyone's supposed to be killed off? And
I think it's that. I think people are in hiding. And so I was trying to think as you said that, I can't imagine what this place would look like. Would we see people on the street? If it was shot outdoors or not in a studio, what would this world be?
Yeah, that's what I can't get my head around, because even
towards
the end,
I think that's a good thing. I think that's a good thing, and I can't imagine them filming this outdoor on a street somewhere, probably in London, because that's where it was all filmed then. And they've closed off a street, and it's people walking down and I can't imagine it. I can't imagine it being an outdoor world because it's supposed to be a sad planet.
Well, industrial. They talk about factories and all that kind of stuff. So it'll probably be in all warehousing and stuff. The Tax one where they filmed in a old factory there was some location there. I think it would have been a bit like that with the tunnels
pipe
and stuff.
Worked really well. I thought that's all studio. That works well. I don't know. For me, it just did fit. It did sort of all go together.
Yeah, I've definitely enjoyed it more this time round. I don't know, yeah. Once you get past the production stuff. So, let's just go through. I'll go through my notes then, and let's just see what we get. So, yeah, so there's the opening bit where that woman's arrested for being sad and stuff. I mean, it's great themes. I feel like, again, it'll be a very good theatre play. But, like you say, silly stuff. People comparing, the new series and even with Jodie Whittaker's political stuff in a way. There's a lot of political commentary because this is the 80s and everybody says Helen A was supposed to be Margaret Thatcher.
Yeah.
This is in the middle of all the Thatcher stuff. I mean, even so, that when Margaret Thatcher, I think it's when she died, the script editor or the writer of this was on Newsnight talking about it, how they based it on Margaret Thatcher. Like, you know, it's very political of the time.
They didn't understand me. Oh, they understood you only too well. That's why they resisted you.
I only wanted the best for them.
The best? Prisons, death squads, executions?
They only came later. I told them to be happy. But they wouldn't listen. I gave them every chance. Oh, I know they laughed sometimes, but they still cried. They still wept.
I did make a joke to myself earlier because I'm a loser. I went, Helen A.
Oh, no. That's okay. That's like a catwalk. That's a Dosker's catwalk.
Oh my gosh, I've got to tell you this. Listeners, you've got to listen to this, right? So I host a pub quiz every week. And as you can imagine, I'm very point generous. So I give out lots of points. And I give 2 points of a team name that makes me laugh the most. And I was just helping on the bar before we started. I did a cider for someone, and it's like a medium cider. And I was like, oh, this one's almost like, it's not bubbly still. And I was like, it's almost like apple juice. They're like, yeah, no, I'm just drinking so much of it. It's literally like apple juice. I was like, yeah, I've had this one before. Off they go. They named their quiz team name Cider, I Hardly Know Her. And I literally couldn't stop laughing. And I was like, Mark would love that. I had to explain. This is a running thing with my friend when we do our award ceremony.
That's a good one.
Cider, I Hardly Know Her.
Anyway, back to the Happiness Patrol. Although it's all in theme, jokes and fun.
It is all in theme. Yeah, I had a really good laugh.
Talking about in theme, this is the story where you should be having your strawberry dreams. I was thinking about your strawberry dreams a lot in this one.
My gosh, yeah. I mean, I was trying. Look, if I've got plot holes in this, was it just to make herself happy, or please, like, what? I couldn't work out where the sweets really came into it.
I think the sweets come from the Candyman.
But okay, similar question. I couldn't work out where the Candyman came into it.
So, okay, this is what maybe this is why I've never really enjoyed it that much, because I've never really understood it.
I sort of accepted it, but I was like, but where have you come from?
So at the end, Gilbert, he's the one that looks a bit like Christopher Biggins, but isn't Christopher Biggins.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that look and sound like other people in this. What was the captain's husband? Not Helen A's husband.
Yeah, I've just called him the husband.
The husband, right?
Yeah.
He had a really familiar face and voice.
I don't know. No, I'm not sure. I'd have to look him up, but
I did.
They're probably well-known actors.
I didn't get anything.
They're probably, he's probably done a... Anyway, not Christopher Biggins. He says he came from another planet. He was some scientist guy, and he grew the Candyman. He was experimenting on stuff, and the Candyman's brain is organic, which he created in the candy kitchen. So he's obviously some experimenty chefy person.
Yeah.
Like Heston Blumenthal or whatever.
Heston Blumenthal was going to make a life-sized villain. Yes, sure.
And so, but then he's sort of half robot, so he's built that skeleton around him. So he made it, and then it sort of took over and became its own creation. So it's sort of like Frankenstein chef type thing.
The constant eyes going for me.
Yeah, I mean, it's an amazing costume. I mean, the production values for these later stories. I mean, we've had some. I mean, you wouldn't even get this in the Sixth Doctor thing a couple of seasons ago. You wouldn't get anything like this. It's really upped, its game in terms of the look of stuff, in terms of the costumes. I mean, brilliant costume. And BBC did get in trouble with Licorice All Sorts.
Oh, I can imagine. I wondered if they'd actually got any permission at all.
They didn't have permission. There was some legal back and forth. I think it's all right now. I don't know if they can use him in nowadays or anything, or he's on merchandise, I think. But the lady that designed the Candyman hadn't seen Bertie Bassett before. She didn't know she was from. I can't remember. I think maybe she was Polish or something like that. Maybe I've just made all that up. Anyway, she was unaware of Licorice Allsort Man when she designed it. She just designed a man out of sweets, and it just was a coincidence. Obviously, Licorice Allsorts were like, I don't think it is somehow. Like,
well, yeah,
whatever.
it looks exactly like the Licorice Allsorts sweet man. Yeah.
But just amazing. I just love that design. That is the best thing in the story for me. The way he walks around, even though the voice sort of fits as well, and the movement, and you've got the actual mouth. It's not like someone, like, it could be like Mr. Blobby or something where you don't, you know, do you know what I mean? But it's got the mouth built in, so it and the movement is fast.
Yeah.
Candyman, I don't believe you've met my young friend Ace, an expert in calorification, incineration, carbonization, and inflammation.
I beg your pardon.
She's come to look at your oven.
Has she indeed? Then she should wait to be asked. Impolite guests get to feel the back of my candy hand.
I mean, he doesn't really do anything. He serves. It doesn't really serve a purpose. But going back to your question, why sweets?
The sweets are just happy.
Well, I suppose so. She's trying to force everyone to be happy because she's a bit crazy and she wants her whole colony to be happy, and she's got fed up with everyone, and then it sort of built up slowly over time that if you're not happy, I'm going to kill you. Maybe there's like someone should write a prequel or something where maybe she was like, oh, I'm going to make like balloons and bunting and give everyone sweets and everything, and this is going to make them happy, and then it didn't make them happy, and then she's like, well, I'm going to drown you in strawberry creams if you're not happy. And then because he's in the kitchen, this Candyman, because it's not like the Candyman is in charge or anything.
No.
And it's not like he's involved in much of the other story. He's just sort of in his own bit, isn't he? He doesn't feel like part of, like, he even knows who Helena is, maybe. I don't know. I suppose she phones him up and he just pulls the lever, doesn't he? He's like the executioner, basically.
He is, yeah. Well, she says he is my executioner. The Candyman. Yeah.
I can't explain to you why, because she's eating sweets, she's feeding Fifi sweets. This is where there's big holes in the world that we don't really see. Are all the factories sweet factories? Is it a world that makes sweets?
Yeah, that's the sort of question marks I had, which maybe someone can answer for us, but maybe there was no answer. Why sweets?
I think this is the style of the stories now, and maybe the script editor, because last week the Doctor had a mission and he knew everything that was going on, and you wanted more stuff explained. Here again, the Doctor turns up, he's heard something, he's there for a reason. It's not just, oh, we've landed, what's happening? He's like, we've come here because tonight is the night that we investigate what's going on, and Ace is up for it and everything. But it's this Doctor is very much knows what's going on.
Yeah.
And he
and
knows
also
what he's going
doesn't
to
know
find.
what's going on. This one, I felt like he didn't know what was going on too much. Like, they get there and he's asking things. He's like, oh, so we need to go and talk to this person. And he's asking a lot of questions. He knows through conversation, so he wants to meet, but he's not like
Yeah, I mean, he's got to investigate a little bit, but I think he's not just landed for a holiday. All the holiday plan, no holiday anymore in this series.
Well, it's gone.
It's on a mission. Something's going on. I'm here to sort it out. And you're right into the story then, meeting all these different people.
I love the TARDIS being pink, by the way.
Yeah, another great thing.
I had to go giggle at that. Wasn't the TARDIS pink? Didn't they have a pink TARDIS in a promo thing, and all the fans started kicking off? Was it when Jodie?
No, it was because Shooty was in Barbie, and
that was it.
Yeah,
and people were kicking off about it, and here we are with a pink TARDIS.
I tell you, everything comes around again. It's whatever's happened in Doctor Who fandom. It happened 20 years ago, 30 years ago. Everything's happened already. I got a bit annoyed with all the capturing and stuff, because when the Doctor and Ace go to that waiting area, okay, again, you're seeing sort of the world. Is it a waiting area because they can't afford a prison set and it's just a bit of tape on the floor?
Prisons are sad. No one wants to be told you're going to prison.
Yeah, okay, it's the waiting area, okay. But then they're like, oh, let's get arrested. So they get arrested. Then they want to escape. And then once Ace escapes, she's like, oh, take me back to the waiting area.
I didn't get that either. I know he said I needed more time, but she literally walked out. And again, they were there to be like tried, and then she escapes, and then they're like, oh, we're going to turn you into a happiness patrol person. So I didn't understand why that had come from.
And they've got that blooming Jeep again, that golf buggy that we saw in the reality TV one. It was the cleaning robots last time.
Yeah.
It's so slow. Why do they always do this in a studio? Let's have something exciting because we've got nothing else. Let's get a really slow car for everyone to escape it.
It is so slow.
They don't learn their lesson.
When they were like, right, let's get away, I was thinking, you could have walked this.
I think we've had it. Have we had that every season for the last 4 seasons? We've had some kind of slow car every time. That's really annoying. But what about the look of it, like the costumes?
Like I said, costumes are great. I quite like the sort of fake face as well, sort of painted on, almost like clowns. Costume.
Theatrical again. It's just more, and that's just the way the happiness patrol and their guns look sort of over the top, but they're still deadly.
I thought there was throughout. I know we're just going off slightly, but I thought the Doctor had really good scenes throughout. There was some really, really good dialogues for the Doctor.
The Doctor's brilliant because he is holding it all together. He's going from A to B.
He's completely holding it together. He's fully in control and, also inquisitive, knows what's going on. There's there's that scene with him with the gun, all that. There's some really, really strong Doctor moments, which is a complete contrast to Ace in this, who just... I feel Ace's pain when she's like, I don't get to do anything. And she doesn't get to do anything. And I actually really like Ace, but she doesn't get to do anything.
She had a lot last week in the Daleks one. She did a lot. This is only 3 episodes. And it's all in studio, like I keep saying and reminding everybody.
Yeah, in case anyone hadn't realised, by the way, this is all in studio.
But then her friend in the waiting room, the one that she hangs out with. So she's been in Doctor Who before. I'm not expecting you to remember. She was in that one with Turlo. She was Torna. Do you remember? She made friends with Turlo. And the one with Turlo, and he was remembering all the giant millipede things underground.
Oh, sort of, yeah.
And
I had to really think about who Turlo was for a second there.
Oh, okay, fine.
And I was like, he had red hair. Okay.
Oh, no, she wasn't called Torna. Sorry, we called her Torna. She was called Lorna, I think. We called our episode about Frontiers Torna. That's why Turlo and Lorna. Oh, no, she wasn't called Lorna.
Oh, my God. No.
She was called Norna.
Oh, yeah. That I remember now.
Ace is friends with Norna in this. But yeah, Ace doesn't really... She has those nice conversations. And there is that bit, Ace is finding out, because Ace has that conversation with her, I've forgotten her name already, we found out about the happiness patrol a bit more. So she has her purpose there, and she's with the pipe people a little bit as well.
Yeah, I love the pipe people. I love how the pipe people see her as like a god, a rebellion god, and I loved that.
I like they're all like, wicked.
He's like, hang on, you've been around my friend Ace.
Speaking of, we haven't got into this yet, but we're going to have to just do a little side bit now. So Sophie Aldred, who plays Ace, absolutely lovely. I need to tell you this story. I've been waiting years to tell this story. This is my Ace story. So I am convinced that she taught me gymnastics once, right? You have to hear my theory, okay? I don't know if it's true. Anyway, so when I was in infant school, I used to go over to the primary school. They're sort of on the same site. Used to go over in the evenings and do gymnastics lessons for a bit.
Yeah.
And I've still got my certificates, the Kitty Cat Awards. I got level 5, 6, 7, I think.
Oh.
Anyway, so you go along and you go into little groups of different abilities, and there'd be a big poster, and whatever ability, you'd have all these different gymnastics things to do. You'd have the springboard and the all that stuff. Anyway, so I was quite young going over there.
I've told you why I did gymnastics as well, but for 3 weeks. I've told you why I stopped, didn't I?
No.
Oh, we'll come to that after.
Okay. Anyway,
it'll be a downer, trust me.
So there's a lady that ran it, and she used to have a helper that came, because there were quite a few kids. And there was a lady, and she was called Sophie, and she used to help out. And I remember we did the teddy bear rolls and stuff with Sophie. And then years and years later, well, actually, no, I always thought she looked a bit familiar somehow. From maybe, I would have seen Remembrance of the Daleks on video, So maybe I thought of it from then. Anyway, I can't really remember. Go to like 95, 96. I'm reading a Doctor Who magazine, and there is an interview with Sophie Eldred. And in it, she says she used to help out in schools in between sort of acting stuff. She used to help out, and it was really funny because she would sign her autographs for the kids, and then at the end of the day, she'd go out and just all the bits of paper would be in like the bushes on the floor and stuff, you know, like. And I have a memory of people crowding round her at the end of the night and thinking, that's a bit weird, what's going on? And these little bits of paper. So that sort of sparked a memory.
Yeah.
Anyway, years later, way years.
Future Mark.
This is like, I've been to uni, like way yeah. I was talking to my friend Janice, who went to infant school and primary school and used to go to the thing. And we were talking about stuff, and she went, oh, I always used to love going to the gymnastics thing. There was a girl there that looked like Ace from Doctor Who, and I always wanted to be Ace from Doctor Who. And I went, that's because it was Ace from Doctor Who. And she was like, no, it wasn't. I was like, I'm pretty sure it was. And I told her all my theories that she was called Sophie and this interview and stuff. Anyway, we couldn't decide. Janice's parents thought she was a lady called Louise who lived down Paradise Road, but I don't think it was. So I wrote to Sophie Eldred. And I've never written to any, like, this is the only letter I said, you know, hi, I loved you in Doctor Who, blah, blah, blah. By the way, did you ever teach gymnastics at Riddle Junior School in the early 90s? And I got a letter back, and it had like an autograph picture, blah, blah, and it went, hi, Mark, thank you so much. I don't think I did, but I had a friend who worked there. And that was it. And I was like, so you've not said yes, but you've not said no. I was like, I need to know. And I mean, I've never, all the times I've met her at signings and stuff, I've never brought it out because I don't want to go through that whole story. But
well, also, you are the guy that asks outright on a letter. So
exactly. I've put it in writing. If she can't tell me in writing, yes or no, did you help out?
She might not remember which school she went to. Like, she might...
But she said her friend worked there. She could have said, I have no idea what school this is or anything, but she didn't. She said, my friend worked at that school. I named the school. So she has an association with it.
Yeah. I think you're probably right, Mark.
I could just see her now. I see her now. I remember we used to do a warm-up, right? And we used to run round the hall in a line. And I used to always look at her, and she always used to smile at me when walking past. And then I remember doing the teddy bear. I remember sitting in front of me with her legs open, and we sort of went round on our backs. And I was like, it's Sophie. Anyway, that's my gymnastics story with Sophie Eldred. I'm convinced she taught me gymnastics.
That's a great story. I think you're right.
And I mean, just little things. I don't think I've sort of retro put these in my brain. I remember, like, people being like, oh, is Sophie going to be here tonight? And the woman going, oh, no, she's out with Sylvester. But I don't think that, maybe I've just added that in. But people were asking, I don't know. Anyway.
She must have been on Doctor Who then at the time.
So Doctor Who would have finished by then. So she would have been in between jobs because Doctor Who had sort of been axed by then, a couple of years before. So she was she used to present Words and Pictures as well. So we used to watch those in infant school as well. If you watched Words and Pictures in the early 90s, it probably would have been presented by Sophie Eldred.
Interesting.
She's like, I feel like she was more of a presenter then than a sort of actor. She'd done a lot more presenting, and she has done, I think, a lot more presenting than actual sort of drama, as it were. Anyway, that's Sophie Eldred. But sorry, why did you stop gymnastics?
I don't even know if I can say this story live. Oh, it's right. I'll tell you, but you might need to cut it. But mainly because, like, I don't know if I've ever told you. So I went to gymnastics. So week 1, fine. So we're doing like leapfrogs over people, right? So I'm paired with this girl. You know, you bend down and you had to put your hands to your toes, and then someone would leap over you, right? So I would do it every time, and this girl would miss me and basically push not on purpose, she just wasn't very good, but every time she would leap and push, like, in the process, instead of being on my back, she'd go somewhere else that would push me down, right? So every time I fell down, and this happened, like, I mean, then I'd get up, she'd stand in, I'd do the same thing, I'd go over fine, she would come, I would fall over, and the teacher just, like, sort of left us. So this happened, like, 10, 12 times. Like, I'm just going slam, slam, slam. And then eventually the teacher comes over and explained what this girl was doing wrong. So it wasn't me. It was she was putting her hands in the wrong place before doing the leap. So obviously I'm falling over. Maybe it was like 2 nights later. I'm having a bath. I'm about 7, 8 at this point. I'm having a bath. And my mum comes in and like literally gasps. And she like she gets me out the bath and she wraps me in a towel. And she's like, what happened? I'm like, what are you on about? And basically, all my inside legs were purple bruised because I'd just been going down like this constantly on the floor. And my mum basically was like, what has happened? And I went, oh, it was at gymnastics. Obviously it was. I was like, oh yeah. And she was like, what do you mean it was at gymnastics? My mum thinking this terrible things happen. Because obviously I'd not said anything because like I just got on and then like done the next exercise. And then like it's so bad, this story. And I just remember my mum literally getting me out the bath, like looking, getting me in a towel to dry because I'm like, I'm cold, and just give me a towel. She's like, what happened? And she's like, Sarah, you've got to be really honest with me. It's okay, you're not in trouble. I was like, yeah, this girl she just wasn't really good at leapfrog. And I'm like crying, going, she was really bad at leapfrog. I just couldn't. And she's like, you promise that's all it is? Because it must have looked terrible.
Oh
my mum was like, you're not going to gymnastics. She put a complaint to him.
Well, that wouldn't have happened if Sophie Eldred was teaching gymnastics.
But there we are at Clitheroe Leisure Centre, the gymnastics club. Yeah, it was really bad. And I had other friends that went, and so the mum was like, "Oh, you can do gymnastics," and I went. And I literally did like 3 weeks, and then that happened. She was like, "No, not going back."
Wow, I didn't.
She was like, "Well, what do you mean? Why didn't the teacher do it? Like, why did the teacher say that? The teacher wasn't there. They were off doing something else." And my mum was like, "What?" And they were. She just sort of started on this exercise and then gone off. And my mum was tamping. She was livid. But she genuinely thought something like really, really, or obviously you would. You've got like a 7-year-old, her entire inner legs with like purple bruises. My mum thought something shocking had happened.
Anyway, we should get back onto the happiness patrol. So the Candyman, going back to the Candyman, I learnt from this, I mean, is it scientifically possible if you spray lemonade on his feet, he'll get stuck like that? I didn't know that.
I presume so with candy, because lemonade's like got a sugar base, hasn't it? Which makes it sticky.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if that's...
If you apply heat, things melt.
I mean, the cliffhangers weren't the best.
There was one that was good. Which one was it? There was one that was like, that's a good cliffhanger.
I mean, we had the Candyman, and then it was Ace at the Forum, or whatever it was, doing auditions with a poster of her on the wall. No. Maybe
it was going into it. Maybe it was like, and now I'm going to like I can't remember. I was like, oh, that's all right. I didn't feel like that's not a cliffhanger. I loved the Doctor on the stage having a little sing.
That is my worst moment.
Oh, really?
I mean, you say his acting's really good and stuff. It's so cringe. I can never watch that.
I thought he had a good voice.
Oh, no, but when he's like laughing and stuff, I'm like, I know there's a reason for it, and it's really clever way of doing it. And then just before
that, when it's just him and he's having a little swoon, and I enjoyed that.
I like how we've got none of it. I like how we've got Earl Sigma, the guy playing the harmonica all the time.
Yeah, he was great.
It was great, although I think harmonica music all the time would be really annoying. Worse than the lift music.
But equally, I'd rather have harmonica when all I could listen to was happy music constantly. You might know, what song was she talking about when she's like, oh yeah, I know the song, and like he gave his girlfriend a ring, and then she got run over, and then he's really sad and she cries about it. That's a good song.
I don't know if that's a real song.
I was like, I thought it was an actual song that she's done the most basic version of explaining. I'm like, what is this song?
Maybe someone can tell us. I don't know. I was thinking it was like Oasis or something she was talking about. I don't know why.
I had such a good laugh at that. I was like, what is this song? I said, like you know, when you're like, these songs are always like, and then when you break it down really short like that, it's like, oh yeah, that's what it is. Like,
at uni, my friend's mum, she said to her, she was like, oh, I really love Travis. Why does it always rain on me? It reminds me of you. But she didn't mean it in that way. It's just that, yeah, I know. Someone tell us if that is a real song or not. It could be Could be anything. But I liked how the blue sort of was weaved into it. I mean, it's a very clever script. There's lots of different.
It is a really good
different
script.
things to
It's a really good
take out.
script. I thought, on the whole, the acting was strong throughout. I enjoyed. I had again a little role to myself. I was like, so has the husband gone off with not Christopher Biggins? Like,
yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah,
I
they've
was
sort
like,
of run
are
off
they just
together.
like run off together? It looked like some love affair that they've run off away together. That is exactly what that looked like, and I was for it.
Yes.
But I was like, was that what it was trying to achieve?
Who knows? This is a thing. You could either watch it as it's silly people wearing pink with stupid guns and stuff, and it's just your kids' TV show, or you could look at it as political Margaret Thatcher, all sort of, all these different things. Because there's the demonstration about the factory and stuff.
I hadn't thought of the Margaret Thatcher thing, but once you've said it, I completely see it.
Yeah, I mean, they haven't really covered it up. I mean, it is quite obvious once you.
It's more
Margaret
just
Thatcher.
like, I'm watching this in 2024. And
yeah, but I think if you're watching at the time, I mean, if they did something like now, I mean, I suppose you got like the politician in like 73
the
yards or
closest
something.
we have now is with the new stuff when they have the politician come on. They always have the same prime minister guy, and I think that's like some weird Boris thing, or who's obviously always just he has a red puffy face and like looks like that always makes me laugh. There are hints of it now, that sort of idea.
If it was stuff now, if that was on, if you're watching it at the time, I mean, I think you would see it and it would be quite obvious. Fifi's cool.
There's some great little costumes in this. Great little, talked about Candyman. I like the Tunnel People. Fifi is also great.
I mean, yeah, great. Just the animatronics and stuff of it. And yeah, it is a really powerful scene. I mean, it really comes to that scene between the Doctor and Helena at the end where she's trying to get away.
It's a really good scene. Really good. And that's storming off, and then I'd almost forgotten about Fifi. And then when you see Fifi at the end, you're like, you must. And she does. She completely breaks down. It's a really good scene. Really good.
Yeah. And it would have been better, actually, because the camera pans up and she's crying and stuff. I think it should have finished there. I don't think you needed the other scene at the end. Because it's all that, happy, going in the TARDIS as usual. I think it would have been more powerful if it just zoomed up, sort of crane up, her crying, and then it's just left there. I think that would have been
There's a
fun.
part of me, though, we've had this for a while. We said the other week about how it just ended. I think you need that. I think we need to see that, what happens to the other people on this planet now.
Because they say about the pipe people were the original people of the planet, and then they've sort of got, because the colony's been built, they've had to be like scavengers underground, I don't know, eating sugar or whatever, I suppose. Or because it's all sugar, I don't know. Actually, I think
sugar market.
I think it is all like sweet factories and stuff, because she says about like the sugar factory as being, they do say like a sugar factory or a sugar plant has been overthrown or something. So maybe it's sweets everywhere. I mean, would you want to be drowned in strawberry dreams?
Oh, absolutely. If I'm going to go out, let's go out in style. Do you know what I mean? If someone was like, right, Sarah, you've done something terrible, you're going to be killed, but you can choose how you're killed. Either take me out in a vat of strawberry dreams where I just drown in it, or ice cream. I'll take that.
Because is that what happened? So this tube comes down, and you're supposed to and it fills up with the fondant surprise, and you're supposed to sort of drown in it. And then
I think
it comes
that's
up.
it. I think you
It's
drown
like
in
caramel.
it.
I mean,
Yeah.
with my diabetes, I just have to have a couple of spoonfuls, and that you wouldn't need to even. You just need to give me like a normal packet of sweets, and that'll be me gone.
Yeah. Give him half an hour.
I don't really like licorice all sorts a lot.
No, I don't either.
I couldn't eat a whole bag. I could only eat like the odd one or two. I do quite like licorice, but I don't like the sort of coconut one. I like the bobbly one, but I don't know. After a while, a whole bag of licorice all sorts is really like heavy.
Yeah, I
think.
don't eat them. I'm not a fan.
And I remember when they introduced the one of little Bertie Bassett. That didn't used to be in there. That was like.
Do you think it was like to keep some sort of dominance over what the product was?
I don't know, but no, I just don't. Yeah, I couldn't eat tons.
Yeah,
of
no,
licorice.
same. They kind of remind me of like aunties who always had licorice all sorts.
Yeah, it's just not a thing you really have nowadays very much. You used to have Werther's Original all the time.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, my friend's Granny Heather used to give us. She always had them.
Oh my god, Granny Heather. You've mentioned her before.
Yeah, Granny Heather. Granny Heather made the best hot pot.
That's the Sontaran experiment episode, everybody. It's the story about her.
Mark. That's some freaky knowledge.
I know. No, it's because I called it Heather and Rocks, that episode. That's why.
Did you? Granny Heather. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, for 3 episodes, there's a lot going on. It is entertaining, and it has gone up in my estimation. It's not one I would go and just choose if I just feel like watching a Doctor Who, but I think Sylvester McCoy is very strong in it.
He's really strong. I think like most of the cast are strong. I think it's good costumes. Despite it being on a set, I did enjoy the production values of it. I mean, we've done 2 so far in this season, so this is definitely the top for the season for me. I timed that badly. Mark was just taking a drink. But so we'll see how it goes. But yeah, I did really enjoy it.
But like I said, this is your style of Doctor Who. This is your style, because we've had Paradise Towers.
Yeah,
the tax.
I like
one.
a bit of a camp sort of like. I like it to be serious as well. Don't get me wrong, but I've also enjoyed. I mean, I rolled at Space Babies. Yeah, and then when Maestro came out, you sat next to me, and I don't laugh at that. Like that's my sort of style. I like the sort of camp, almost silly, but then we get to the heart of it. But there's nothing wrong with it silly in
my that's what Doctor Who does. It's got this silly sort of look at it. You think, oh, Licorice All Sort Man, the people with the faces and stuff. But then when you
get that
look
scene at the end, that was just brilliant.
But then, yeah, you have the dramatic moments, and it does have a message if you want to see that message. So that's what Doctor Who does. That is what it's for. So it's got all of that thing. So you could watch it as a kid and look at the cool Licorice All Sort Man, or you could watch it and be like, lol, political, Margaret Thatcher, all that kind of stuff. So it does what Doctor Who should be doing. So I think that's why not many people, maybe apart from me, don't like it. People really do like it and think it's clever.
Yeah, and, I did really enjoy it.
Yeah, and I'm glad you like Ace as well, because she is very cool. So, yeah. Oh, good. That's a good one. Good.
Great. What's next?
So next, it is, I think it's 4, and it's called Silver Nemesis.
Silver Nemesis. That makes me think of Cybermen. I
mean, it is sort of the 25th anniversary story, so...
Okay.
Cool, okay. Well, there we go. Well, let's go off and have some sweets, I suppose, but not too many.
Not too many, though.
In the meantime, everyone, you can find us on Twitter and Instagram at 2WatchWho, and thanks everyone for supporting us at buymeacoffee.com/2WatchWho, and we will see you very soon. Bye.
Bye.
2 Watch Who.